don't. Why don't we start with Traffic in Souls,
Okay.
um, which is directed by George Lone Tucker for the Independent Moving Pictures Company.
Which uh, would go on to become Universal. Or Universal was involved in this somehow. I have it written down as it's a Universal picture.
I think Universal distributed it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that
And
sounds
then it was
correct.
produced by Independent Moving Pictures.
Um, but also Universal is, I think, I don't know if it holds the claim for like the oldest or like the longest running American film
I think
studio.
it's the oldest still surviving, right?
I believe so because I think most of the others have been bought and sort of repackaged
Yeah.
enough times that they're not really the same thing. Whereas Universal has remained Universal. Um, this had the alternate title of While New York Sleeps, which I kind of like better.
Yeah.
They're both fine. They're both very sensationalistic, which this film is very much.
Yeah.
Um,
The basic.
I rather liked this one, which I know that you did not.
No, I no. um, uh, the basic idea of this is that it is sort of a peek into the world uh, of white slavery in New York.
Or human trafficking, which
Human
is
trafficking.
what we now call it because it is a better thing to call it
That's true. It they called it white
in every
slavery
way.
back then.
They also did call it human trafficking back then, which I didn't realize until I watched this movie.
So this involves kind of a couple different levels of an organization. There's this syndicate that basically their whole specialty is taking Swedish people who are fresh off the boat and tricking them uh, into becoming prostitutes and getting stuck in their brothel, and with their kind of merciless guards, and then they've got some kind of head honcho business people. It's all led by this guy named William Trubus. Um,
Such a good villain name.
uh, and so it involves uh, some captured kind of people. It involves a couple of sisters who end up getting involved in this as case crackers slash victims, um,
Hmm.
and it involves the cops who are trying to catch them.
Yeah, I mean it's 6 reels. It's about 88 minutes. Um, and I thought it felt to me like a proper feature as opposed to a sort of longer version of a 1 or 2 reel movie that's just been stretched
Right.
to an absurd length. This actually packs a lot of plot into its runtime. Um,
Yeah, that's true. Um, I'll say that like the plotting slash editing, which is kind of they're tied in silent film a lot, uh,
mhm.
is part of my issue with it. I think the movie gets a lot better about a third or a half of the way through, but the beginning of it is like kind of incoherent, um, to me. Um,
It cuts around a lot, and it's it moves between different characters and places very quickly, and it takes a while to kind of get your bearings as to what is happening.
yeah, I mean, I feel like this movie heard about the trick of cross cutting and just decided like, oh, we're going to do that, without even thinking about why they were doing it, because there were so many unmotivated cross cuts in this movie and it was disorienting. um
Yeah.
uh but one place that the cross cutting I thought was used really well was in the police confrontation where the cops end up getting uh surrounding this building and kind of all orienting themselves at the same time to, like, at the sound of a whistle, bust in and arrest everybody and save the other ones. That was quite good, and the cross cutting built up a lot of tension in those scenes.
Yeah, yeah, building up, yeah, sort of the different groups of police, like outside the building, the like one sort of like hero character, Officer Burke, or I think Detective Burke, later in the film, um, who is in a romantic relationship with one of the two sisters. And yeah, it's just like this big, like, raid shootout scene. There's like the like one of the main like kidnapper characters gets into a fight with Burke and is shot and falls off the roof. Actually reminding me of a film that me and you made,
Yeah,
Chris.
yeah.
Where there's a dummy that gets thrown off a roof. And then so the sort of main villain of this, Trubus, is the sort of like wealthy high society man, and he has a whole family that doesn't know he's involved in his nefarious dealings. And so after the big police raid, they go to arrest him. And he gets arrested, but then like his wife leaves him, or no, his wife dies. Sort of, I think the implication is sort of that she might have killed herself. But Trubus gets released on bail because he's rich, but then like everyone hates him. Like he tries to like go back to his old. He like as soon as he walks out of the station, like everyone's just like hates this guy.
Yeah.
Because they all found out about that he is
A human trafficker.
the head of a human trafficking ring. Yeah, there's a lot of characters in it. There's a lot of there's like a whole section where one of the sisters, Mary, is trying to sort of uncover this plot, and gets a job at as Trubus's new secretary, and discovers his like secret listening device in the office where he can listen to the criminals the floor down. And they come up with this plan to like record him on the dictaphone. You find out that the sister's dad at the beginning is introduced as an inventor.
Yeah.
And then later in this scene, it gets brought back to like, oh, he can invent a thing that can listen to the dictaphone.
That was pretty cool, like the whole espionage element of it. Her sneaking around, the thing that he records is onto these Edison wax cylinders.
Yeah.
Which we haven't seen depicted before on film. And yeah, so she's trying to like smuggle these wax cylinders in this big briefcase size recording device into her boss's office to surreptitiously record him.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I thought that was a nice sort of like setup and payoff with their dad, as like, oh, he's an inventor, and then later he like invents the thing that they need.
I would say that they introduce him as an inventor, do nothing with him, and then the second that there's an invention needed, they say, "Oh, there's an inventor here."
True, but still, I mean, the bar is kind of low in terms of like feature-length storytelling at this point, I think.
I think Phantomas does it way better.
Hey, look, of course Phantomas does it way better. No one's going to argue that point. But I watched this before Phantomas, so the bar hadn't been raised that high yet.
Well, that's the thing. It's just the French are way better at everything than the Americans are in particular. And they're still...
They've been doing it for longer.
Yeah.
You know? They arguably invented the whole thing, so... yeah, I enjoyed this. I thought it was paced better than a lot of the other features that we've watched.
Yeah.
And yeah, it has some really well done sequences in it, for sure.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I think the messy beginning really turned me off, but there was a lot of good stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
I will say that in general, I liked The White Slave Handle better. The Danish movie that was about the same kind of thing. Much cleaner movie. And
much shorter movie.
Movie. And it also had a three-way split screen before Suspense did.
Yeah, not a triangle split screen though.
That's right. Yeah.